Good morning. This is going to be pretty speedy. It's about 8 o'clock and students are coming in, and I have not done this lecture video yet. Ran behind. So, looking at Wilson's 14 points, his big goal was lasting peace. Okay. He makes this as a speech, but of course, it is the plan he goes to. And remember that this is going to be a big deal that Wilson is leaving American soil. Now, we don't think about that nowadays as a big deal, but this will be the first time that an American president will leave the country while in office. Okay. Like I said, we don't think about it as a big deal anymore. And it's not for us, but it was then, and that's how big of a deal Wilson felt like this peace treaty was. But in the end, it will not turn out how anyone hoped for. So, especially Wilson. So, there are 14 parts of his plan. No secret agreements between countries, freedom of seas, removal of tariffs to make equal, so that people are not using economics to help or hurt a war. That's a very lofty goal. Okay. Reduce militaries. He wants everyone to do that. Local voices for the conquered. He wants the local people to be able to have a voice with the imperialistic nation that either owns them or is trying to own them. He wants to do away with imperialism. And we do see imperialism die down. Removal of military. That means like Allied troops in Russia, Belgium, and France. Well, I guess access to the opposite or central technically right now. They turn into the Axis powers. Readjust Italy's borders. I had to figure out what I had written. Austria-Hungary needs to be given autonomy. And if I go too fast, just pause the video and then pick it back up. I'm going to have to go fast today. There is no, I don't have much time. So Austria-Hungary is given autonomy, self-chosen government. If you want a more realistic, let me know, and we will do a Google Meet, and commentary will be there, a lot more. Slovakian states are given freedom. That's all of those powder keg states we talked about, Serbia, Czechoslovakia, all those little areas. Ottoman Empire is given they get a government voice, so they're going to be instrumental in the creation of their government, and that's what he hopes. An independent Polish nation, they create Poland. Where is the first battle during World War II? You guessed it, Poland. Okay. League of Nations, that was his 14th point. It was kind of like the UN, what we have today. It was way ahead of his time. Wilson was way behind in his time as far as segregation and civil rights, sadly. That is his big, stain on history, is how, discriminatory he was. But he was going to be ahead of his time. He creates the Federal Reserve. This League of Nations is ahead of his time. It was an international peacekeeping body. That's what he wanted. When he leaves Paris, okay, people are going to be scared in the United States the League would cause alliance systems. They're afraid that if they join this League of Nations, I don't have my toys, that they would be forced into a world war, because they saw this with the alliance systems in World War I. So the end result, because of isolationists, those are going to be the people that want to stay isolated. and not be part of the League of Nations. We didn't join the League of Nations, and we're going to end up signing an alternate treaty that basically is pretty much everything but the League of Nations. The United States is. It's going to take a year or so for that to happen. So, at the Treaty of Versailles in Paris, June 1919. Article X will be the League of Nations. Wilson is going to do a lot of wheeling and dealing to get a lot of bargaining, too much to get the League of Nations put into the treaty. So he allows, he knows, he's like, these people are trying to retaliate. Okay, the British, the French, the Italians, remember Clemenceau, Lord George, and Orlando. They were trying to retaliate against Germany because they were mad at them. They had their countries, they had been ripped apart. It was there. So Wilson knows it's not right. He's like, this is not going to be good, but I want the League of Nations. I think that can stop all of, anything bad from happening. What does he never expect? The United States not to go for it. So the treaty is going to be built with lots of concessions on Wilson's part in order to keep the League of Nations, Article X, in the treaty. Now, we will sign the Americans, I almost said Alabamians, the Americans will sign the treaty without Article X. So the war guilt clause, basically the definition, directly blamed Germany, made them disarm, disband their army, give over their land, over some land, not all of it, pay the Allies $5 billion. Here's the thing with that. If your parents, let's say you wrecked your car, you don't have a job, you just go to high school, may play a sport, whatnot. Let's say you totaled your car, didn't get hurt, because we don't want to talk about that. And your parents get so mad at you, just so mad. And they're like, you're going to pay back $50,000. At first, you might be very mad. Very mad. And you're going to be mad about it because, you didn't mean to do it. I have lots of car accidents. Anyway, I'm one of the worst drivers in Decatur. Probably in Alabama. Anyway, so, but like $50,000 is like, you can't even remotely pay that. Okay? So are you going to try? Unless someone makes you? No, because it's like so out of the ballpark of being able to like come to life that like you can't even like put that, and that's how the Germans are going to be. They're like, I can't even get close to that. I can't pay that. So the effects. Germany couldn't afford it. It kind of becomes a joke. Like $5 billion? Really? Germans are going to resent. They're going to be getting blamed. Remember, Hitler was a soldier for Germany during the war. Okay? He's going to harbor a lot of resentment. No one in Germany, and there's no one in Germany to make sure that the military was disbanded. So when Hitler starts to build his army, does anybody know? No. And the long-term effect is when they do find out, there's not going to be anybody to have any power because the League won't be powerful enough to stop him. They try to, but the United States doesn't join. So that long-term effects, it will be cause of World War II, the Treaty of Versailles, into World War I. The League won't be powerful enough without the United States. So when they start to threaten and get involved, when Hitler starts his reign of madness, y'all know he was very intelligent, but just bonkers. Okay. I guess people have said, they've looked back and studied him, kind of psychopathic. We will look into all that. But, also Wilson will put himself on the deathbed for the League of Nations. He will have a stroke when he's out trying to convince isolationists to agree to the treaty. And in the end, he doesn't win, and it all just becomes a gigantic mess. Now, hindsight is 2020. That's like perfect vision. So keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm finishing up the lecture for virtual. So yeah. So keep that in mind. Today we are wrapping up World War One. You're going to get a review. We're going to test. It's going to be a short test on progressives and World War One. Okay. Because I didn't want. Here's the deal. Here's the other point. I think you'll do fine on the test. I do know that it's a little, I usually give a lot more notice, and I didn't. But I started looking and I was like, because I thought I would test after the New Deal, but putting progressives, World War One, 1920s, Great Depression, and the New Deal together in a test, that's so big. So I'd rather not do that to y'all. So, and 1920s, Great Depression and New Deal, just they go together. So hang tight. Let me know if you've got some issues. If Thursday won't work, let me know. Okay, for you. I know spring sports are starting up. So